Are you interested in knowing what's really happening in the Toronto real estate market, where prices are headed, and where the greatest opportunities lie around the city? If that information is of interest to you, then you're going to want to watch this video, and I'm going to break it down right now. Welcome to the Living in Toronto YouTube channel. My name's Stuart Nodell, and today we're going to discuss distress selling and why we're in that kind of market right now in the city of Toronto and surrounding areas. I'm going to get into 3 of the key components for why we're there. Please comment below and let me know what your thoughts are and where you think the market's headed during the summer of 2022 and beyond. The first component I'd like to discuss really surrounds strategy when a home buyer decides to purchase a property, whether they're moving up as an example, and they have a property to sell. You know, in really tight inventory marketplaces, most people's strategy is to buy the property they want first because they feel confident that they're always going to sell the property that they currently own. And which makes sense in a lot of people's scenarios, especially when you're only considering really small geographic locations. You don't want to be caught homeless. And if you're not willing to place your belongings in storage and rent, there's all kinds of variables that can take place. So there's pros and cons to either selling first or buying first. But most people were buying first in the first quarter of this year. And now with a market shift, you know, we may have people who bought in February but didn't really get their house ready for market till end of March, even into April. And for a lot of those people, what we've seen is the market had shifted negatively so that, you know, whatever they bought at and then where they ended up selling or where they're still trying to sell, there's a gap for what they can accept in terms of an offer because they were banking on a certain amount of money. And in most people, we have to make firm offers in a competitive market. So there's still contingencies on their financing. It could be really the sale of their property. They have to be able to get, you know, X amount of equity from that property to go towards the purchase price on the new property. So that would be the first variable in distress selling, is that we have sellers in the marketplace right now that have to sell. And they're committed. They're in a firm and binding agreement on their purchase. So that's something that really leads to distress selling by not having the right strategy from the get-go with realistic expectations on purchase price of their home. The second piece of that could be it just took longer to get their property ready. You know, whether, you know, for me, my example with people when they want to buy first and then sell their property is before we even purchase, we need to have their property ready. Ready to the point of it's staged, it's ready, even if we sometimes might even take photography, so that literally when they buy, the next day their house is on the market. The key to that strategy is you've got to be buying and selling in the exact same marketplace because there's always the element of risks. Things can change. We saw it in 2017 where the first quarter of the year things were really red hot. Fair housing plan, mortgage stress testing, all kinds of change in a short period of time. It was like turning the tap off on your faucet, in the market went into an immediate downturn, especially in the 905 area. It dropped like 20 to 30% almost overnight. So that's really the first element or key component when it comes to distress selling that we're seeing now in the market. If you enjoy this kind of real estate content, please consider subscribing to my channel. The second key component I'd like to discuss are the interest rate increases. And we've seen them go up already, 0.75 this year on the variable rate mortgage. We know as of today, they've announced another half a point. The fixed rate mortgages, you know, have already been up since earlier in the year. So those are still going along. People are qualifying in that 4.5% to say just under 5%. Or that's the quoted rate they're getting from, you know, an A lender. Whereas the variable rate mortgage has been significantly lower. There's been a bigger gap. So now that gap is shrinking and people's carrying costs are going up. So we have to expect that because of that, prices for the immediate future, best case, they're going to stay flat and sort of idle through the summer. But in a lot of scenarios, I think we're going to see prices dip. But what we have seen to this point is prices aren't down from last year. They're down from the beginning of the year, in some cases, maybe even to last October. So things are having a bit of a reset, but it's still a healthy market and it's still a seller's market. in a lot of cases. But interest rate increases are definitely going to have an impact. What that impact is today, we don't know yet. It's going to take some time to see where the market goes. Some of it is going to be people's psychology. They may want to go to the sidelines and take a wait and see approach. Let's see what's going to happen. I know there's people out there with the discounted mortgages, with even some of the buyers I'm working with. They have until about middle to end of June to do their deals. So in those cases, there might be a bit of a surge. People are going to push to get that, lower interest rate on their purchase of their home. So they have a small window here that might work to their advantage. But I think by the time we get to middle or end of June, definitely heading into July, things are going to be a lot different, I think. So if you are looking to buy, definitely get your rate quote, get pre-approved for a mortgage, and just be prepared, because deals don't wait for you, and you want to be able to act when those deals come up. The third component in distress selling that I would like to discuss is the increase in inventory. And that's a topic, we've had such a shortage for so long. As an example, the month of January and February in almost all asset classes in each marketplace within the GTA in Toronto, was under one. In a lot of cases, half a month's inventory. And that really just means the absorption rate that, basically it is only taking 2 weeks to sell everything that came onto the market. So that's why we were getting the 15 and 20 offers on almost every property. Well, we've seen that just about double, in some cases more than double. And there's neighborhoods now that are experiencing anything from a month and a half inventory, which is still a great seller's market, upwards of 2.5 months inventory, which is still a seller's market. I think in some asset classes, we are starting to see a bit more balance where they're touching the 3 and 4 months of inventory. So there's going to be some real opportunities right now for buyers. So it is important for you to position yourself, as I mentioned earlier, getting pre-approved for a mortgage, because you want to act when the right property for you becomes available. You want to go forward with it, and there is going to be those opportunities. You're even going to be able to put, as I have in recent weeks, offers with conditions in them, putting your financial condition, putting in a home inspection condition, even an insurance condition, depending on the type of property you're looking at. And that's going to allow you a little bit of breathing room and confidence with your purchase, knowing that you are protected. So I think that's really important going forward. So we are in a healthy market, or a healthier market, which feels nice. The other part of adding to the inventory is we are starting to see transactions that are failing to close. And this happened in 2017. And if you want to read all the legal ramifications of not closing deals, Canley has a great website with a lot of case law, and it's scary stuff, and why it's important to close your deals. So, people think you just walk away and lose your deposit. Always talk to a lawyer before you're considering anything like that, because there's all kinds of legal ramifications that you could be liable for. But that is also adding to the mix of inventory. And obviously when a seller gets into a situation whereby they thought they had a deal, legally binding contract, for whatever reason a buyer doesn't close, well, now at some point that property goes onto the market. If that seller has already bought a property, likely already closed on it, now they have to sell the property. So they have to try and mitigate their damages depending on what they're doing on the other end. So they're going to still try and sell it for market value, but they are going to price it to sell, and they're not going to be, and obviously they have to deal with market conditions that are in front of them. So what they received 2 and 3 months ago may not be the same as what they're going to receive today, and likely that they're not. So there could be some really good deals for buyers out there in those kinds of situations. So again, inventory, as that increases, that should further push prices down. Houses are taking a little bit longer to sell. So, say there was 20 properties in your neighborhood in the last month, maybe 4 or 5 of them sold. You're only selling a quarter of the houses that are getting listed. The other 75% say they carry over. Well, that adds to the inventory. Plus there's new product coming to the market. Again, it's a supply and demand thing. So adding to the inventory, and people sell for different reasons. Most people that are coming to the market now are they do want to sell their home. Now, understanding what market values are and pricing can be challenging now, because people are sometimes looking at what the most recent direct comparable sold for, but maybe that was a month ago or a month and a half ago, and the marketplace was different. So it may take a bit of time for sellers to accept where their properties are worth in some cases. In other cases, if a seller really doesn't have to sell, I know I've had conversations with people where they've just said, you know what, they don't want to get involved with the market right now. They're going to take a wait and see approach as a seller. So they're not going to sell now. They're going to let the dust settle and then maybe reevaluate next year in 2023. So I think there's a lot of those conversations happening. And I know with talking with other agents, showings are down on all of the properties. Offer dates are hit and miss. In a lot of cases, people aren't even doing offer dates anymore. They're actually listing at value. So that part of the confusion should start to eliminate as we go week to week to week here, is that, the list price is the true price, and you can take your time and view the home, maybe even go back for a second viewing, and really analyze the property and make good, prudent decisions. But those are the things I'm seeing in the market right now. And I know those are the conversations I'm having not only with my own clients, but with other colleagues, that, showings are down. There's sellers that are, in some cases, because they've already bought, they have to sell. So they're going to have to accept what they can get. And it's really important to make sure you have an agent that knows how to find you these deals. So, but again, great time to buy, and just get yourself prepared and organized, because as I said, deals don't wait. I don't think we're going to see a market crash, but we're going to see a lull here where there's just some really good opportunities. So if you're looking at it from a long-term perspective, the next 5 or 10 years, you're going to, choose a property to live in, whether it's to raise a family, or maybe you're retiring and you want to get out of the city. If you're doing those kind of long-term decisions, then now is a great time to set yourself up to do a transaction. Well, now you ask, what now? What are the next steps? So if you really do want to key in on some neighborhoods and some asset class type properties that are seeing much more flexibility in the marketplace, and I do believe providing great opportunities to buyers, a few off the top of my head that I feel confident in discussing, C1 and C8, which are basically the downtown condos, both west and east of Yonge, in and around, not too much further north of King Street, down to the waterfront. Really great neighborhoods. We're experiencing anywhere from 1.8 months of inventory all the way up to 2.4 on the east side. So again, I think that creates some really good opportunities for both people looking to get into the market, or people looking to change their lifestyle and maybe move from a house into a condo, but you want the downtown lifestyle. Great opportunities there, especially, under the 800,000 mark is still a really strong market. If you're looking 800 and above, there's some really good buys. If you're looking at going out a little bit further, both east and west, so an area like Mimico, detached homes, again, over 2 months of inventory. It's still a seller's market, but there's some nice opportunities there. Not always going to have a bidding war to be in competition. And I think that's the key for a lot of people. They're just exhausted by the competition. I know as an agent, it does get exhausting, seeing people go through the process and the frustration that comes with that by, making legitimately good offers and not getting the properties. Hopefully we can get away from that and have a little bit more balance. And hopefully if the inventory keeps coming up and prices come down a little bit, we will start to find more of that balance. It'll be healthier and better for everyone. I look at areas like in Scarborough, Woburn community, in E9, semi-detached homes, 4 months of inventory. Like, you're almost pushing a buyer's market there. So again, there's really good opportunities to key in on those kinds of properties. Same with condos. They're over 2.5 months of inventory. Same community, nearby the Scarborough Town Center. You've got some really nice buildings, close to shopping, close to transit. There's just great opportunities for you to be had. If you look towards central Toronto, C3, which is very good community, those semi-detached properties are well over 2 months of inventory. So again, you'll see some nice opportunity there for you to buy in a little bit more balanced market. Still a seller's market, but not quite as intense as it once was. The real good the real big changes seem to be in the 905 areas. I look at areas like Burlington. I look at areas north part of Toronto. If you look at Richmond Hill, Markham, Newmarket, all of those marketplaces are experiencing like 3 months of inventory in almost all asset class types, everything from detached, semis, and townhomes. So things there are really presenting great opportunities, which really is what happened in 2017. The suburban communities felt the dip first. So I think I would expect the same for now. And places like Durham region, certain, like a town like Ajax, semi-detached, 4 months of inventory. Detached, still under 2 months of inventory, so it's still a seller's market there. But if you're looking to get in the market, maybe a semi-detached is a little bit more attractive because the price point is going to come down. There's certainly not going to be competition on those properties. I hope you enjoyed today's content and see you on the next video.